First at 9.
Several countries, including South Korea and the Arab League, have condemned the sniper attack on a UN convoy in Damascus. Well, a very good evening to you. Welcome to your Primetime News 13 at 9 from our News First centers here in Colombo. I'm Shahin Jurangpati.
And I'm Saskia Valander. The News First International Desk will have more on the stories later in the news.
But first, here's a look at your headline this evening.
The headlines on News First at 9.
UN Human Rights Chief visits Jaffna. Joint business ventures between Sri Lanka and Belarus. Minister of Economic Development says enterprises taken over by the government are making profits in the millions. Body of a trader from Pamanur found on the railway tracks in Mount Lavinia.
Now moving on to those stories in detail, the visiting UN Human Rights Commissioner Navinithan Pillay toured Jaffna today.
During her visit to the north, Pillay held several meetings.
Navinithan Pillay, who held several high-profile meetings in Colombo yesterday, departed for Jaffna later in the day. The UN Human Rights Commissioner's first stop on her visit to Jaffna was the Jaffna Hospital. Subsequently, Pillay visited the Governor of the Northern Province, Major General G.A. Chandrasuri, at the Governor's office this morning. Our reporter says their attention was drawn during this discussion to development in the Northern Province. As Navinithan Pillay left the Governor's office following the meeting, a group staged a demonstration near the premises. The UN Human Rights Commissioner then visited the Jaffna Public Library. She met with and held discussions with the district secretaries of Jaffna, Vaunia, Mullaitivu, Kilinochchi and Mana at the Jaffna Public Library. Our provincial correspondent said the discussions centered around the development of the north and the rehabilitation process. While Pillay was engaged in discussions at the Jaffna Public Library, the families of a group of people who have allegedly disappeared staged a demonstration near the library building. Representatives of the Tamil National Alliance, the Tamil National People's Front, members of the clergy and civil society representatives also participated in this demonstration. Following discussions in Jaffna, UN Human Rights Commissioner Navinithan Pillay visited the Pudumatalan area in Mullaitivu. She met with members of the public there. Subsequently, she visited the Vellamulivaikal area. The people of the area submitted photographs of missing persons and a letter to the UN Human Rights Commissioner. Subsequently, Pillay visited the Kepa Pulau area in Mullaitivu.
Well, let's now take a look at some of the views expressed on the political arena on Navinithan Pillay's visit to Sri Lanka.
Navinithan Pillay has come to Sri Lanka to look into the war and see if human rights were upheld or violated. But we expect that she will make impartial recommendations. Now, Sri Lanka is being identified as a developing country. Since we expect the country to progress further, none of us will ever want to see it slide backwards. We invited Navinithan Pillay and we are making arrangements for her to meet with everyone. We also invited her to visit the north. Then she will be able to see with her own eyes the situation in the country. But today she cannot see the thousands of Sinhalese families and people who were murdered. Today in places like Ampara, you cannot see that. The people in the government think that they can deceive Navanithan Pillai. They are trying to show her some things and deceive her. They are taking her around as if she were on a pilgrimage and showing her some things. They are showing her that there are no more suicide attacks and that the police department has been brought under another ministry. They are showing her that separate human rights committees have been appointed. Now a law and order ministry has been established. Now the army is being removed from lands in the north taken over by the army. They are talking about distributing these lands among the Tamil people. They are holding interviews for Tamils to be recruited to the police. These would have been good if they were done before. These things should not be done to make Navanithan Pillai happy. In the end, look at what has happened. While protesting against Navanithan Pillai, the government is working for her want.
අවසානයේ මොකද වෙලා තියෙන්නේ? ආණ්ඩුව නවනීදන් පිල්ලට විරුද්ධ උද්ඝෝෂණ කරන ගමන් හැබැයි පිල්ලගේ උමනාවට මෙහි වැඩ කරනවා.
Let's have a look at the English newspaper article Cartoon Today.
Meanwhile, several sectors in which Sri Lanka and Belarus can commence joint business ventures and have been identified during meeting held between President Mahinda Rajapaksa and the Prime Minister of Belarus, Professor Mikhail Miansnikovic.
President Mahinda Rajapaksa, who is on a 3-day official visit to Belarus, met with the Prime Minister of Belarus yesterday. The Prime Minister of Belarus, Mikhail Miansnikovic, had said that the visit of the Sri Lankan head of state marked a new chapter in the relationship between the two countries. He had pointed out that both countries would benefit from joint business ventures. The manufacture of tractors, trucks and other vehicles, production of milk and related products, infant food, manufacture of footwear and the manufacture of military hardware have been identified as joint business ventures.
Augment this cooperation with
Meanwhile, the president's spokesperson and international media unit said that the Prime Minister of Belarus had agreed to provide free university education to 25 Sri Lankan students.
preparatory mechanisms so that
President Mahinda Rajapaksa had pointed out that at present Sri Lanka has created a number of facilities to promote foreign direct investment in Sri Lanka.
in the government of Belarus.
The president's spokesperson and international media unit said that the head of state had requested the commencement of direct flights between Sri Lanka and Belarus. Assistance had also been sought from the Prime Minister of Belarus for providing facilities for the development of athletics and football, as well as the establishment of theatres similar to the Bolshoi theatres in Minsk. Representatives of the business community from both countries also attended the meeting held to identify sectors for possible development. The president's spokesperson and international media unit said that the memorandum of understanding was signed between the two nations on investment promotion. Meanwhile, the president of Belarus also hosted the Sri Lankan president and his entourage for dinner last night. With the northern, northwestern and central provincial council elections just over 3 weeks away, the campaign stage is heating up.
Well, that's right, Saskia. Now let's take a look at some of the views expressed by some of the political representatives on the campaign stage.
5 ports are being built in Sri Lanka. No matter what anyone says, 5 ports are being built. What haven't they said? But today, not only have we received an international airport in Mattala, His Excellency the President has already commenced work on building an airport in Kandy for you as well. This wonder will bloom. The fruit of the Mattala airport will bloom. The port will bloom. These will bloom falsely. That is the kind of country this is. These rulers will continue on their journey of deceiving you, the innocent people of this country. On behalf of supporters of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, support brothers from the United National Party and the Janatha Vimukti Peramuna who have joined with the alliance. This is the future of the alliance. This is the future of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. Even today, our country is among the 30 failed nations in this world. Although our country is deteriorating and the pressure and cost of living on the people is becoming heavier, although their problems are increasing and the people have no way of tying their lives down to anything, the politicians in this country have always taken care to ensure their own welfare. Any small child knows that a UNP government will not materialize for many years to come. Thereby, even if we have problems with our government, they must be resolved through this process. For us, the UNPers and the JVPers. If the provincial council is building the roads in the province, then the reprimanding of the government will cease. If the health problems in the province are resolved by the provincial council, then the reprimanding of the government will cease. If the provincial councils conduct agricultural activities appropriately, then the people will stop scolding the government for agriculture-related problems. If the provincial councils carry out education responsibilities appropriately, people will stop reprimanding the central government. Rescuing the government and rescuing His Excellency the President, the Defence Secretary and war heroes from these problems is one of my primary duties. The government had to hold this election because of pressure exerted by India. They have forgotten that India and the other countries need to participate at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. If all this is to take place, something has to give way. That is why the elections are being held, not to give power to the Tamil people.
Meanwhile, the National Freedom Front convened a media briefing today.
At the media briefing, journalists posed questions to NFF representatives regarding a statement made by the Minister of Justice and leader of the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress, Rauf Hakim.
Certain ministers in the government want to win this election via us. They want to ride the horse using our votes. We will never allow that. Our party is a party that can contest alone and win a seat. Our party is a party with a spine. I am proud to say that our party is capable of depicting our identity from within the government. We have no need to climb onto the top of the laurels of Minister Rauf Hakim and win our demands from the government. He did not partake in the creation of this mandate, even in 2005 or in 2010. He is a person who boarded a moving bus. Because of the vacant seats, some were seated while others clinged onto the footboard. We would have to be bankrupt to get onto the laurels of such a person. We can clearly see how they are bankrupt. It is clear that Rauf Hakim is trying to use the Tamil National Alliance. They know that if they contest the North with the UPFA, a majority of the votes will go to the UPFA. Therefore, Rauf Hakim has planned well to break the voter base into three and contest separately. It is clear that thieves like him are working with the TNA.
Tonight on our segment Words of Wisdom, we look at the thoughts of the famous American naturalist, poet and philosopher Henry David Thoreau on the subject of truth.
It takes two to speak the truth, one to speak, another to hear. American philosopher Henry David Thoreau.
The body of a textile businessman from Pamuna Road in Maharagama, who had died in suspicious circumstances, was discovered on the railway tracks in Mount Lavinia this morning.